Good morning, everyone. Third consecutive year. It is the NBA mock draft and off-season preview. I'm Josh McCauley. That's Mike Niddle. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing swell, Josh. How are you? 3 years. That's quite consistent for us.
What can I say? We're just consistent guys. We're just the pictures of consistency.
Something like that.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. We're gonna do a mock draft. All 30 first-round picks. We have these written down. We'll make a Google Doc so we keep each other honest. We'll have a little bet. We'll figure out what the loser has to do. Whoever gets the most picks correct. And then at the end, we'll do a little off-season preview. There are a lot of big free agents this year, so surely we'll have some good predictions for those. So let's jump right in, Mike. Your Boston Celtics at number 1.
Yeah, they're in a impressive spot right now. You know, I would just watch the Eastern Conference Finals Game 3. Boston Celtics defeat Cleveland Cavaliers on a game-winning 3 by Avery Bradley without Isaiah Thomas. And that might pay dividends in the NBA draft this season because I believe that the Celtics far and out are definitely going to pick Markelle Fultz. I don't see any change happening from that whatsoever. The point guard / shooting guard out of Washington dropped about 20 points a game over the college season. Young, creates his own shot, can control the ball, great in pick and roll, which the Celtics love to run. And he might honestly be a fill-in for Isaiah Thomas if the Celtics decide to trade him, which, I mean, I don't see why not. They probably shouldn't give him the max contract that people are talking about. And, I love Isaiah Thomas myself, but I think it would be better to move on from him after a while. I think it's overachieving a little bit because he doesn't play defense. Markelle Fultz will play a little bit of both, but Avery Bradley is certainly more of a max contract guy than Isaiah Thomas is. So I think Markelle Fultz will be the start to the core that will come after this bridge team that the Celtics have right now. They're in a good spot. They're overachieving, but bridge spot nonetheless. So I think that Markelle Fultz will certainly lead to the future.
Yeah, I definitely got to go Markelle Fultz here. Excuse me. I agree. I wouldn't give Isaiah Thomas the max. I don't think he's a max player. I think he's a player putting up good stats on a good team, albeit a team that really lacks shooting and scoring in high volume. So, he's able to fill that need. Like you said, this is a bridge team. They're overachieving. The Celtics shouldn't be looking to really win, for another 4 years. Cleveland is too dominant. I don't see any way that this team, barring trading this pick for a Paul George, and Paul George, not Jimmy Butler. Right? Jimmy Butler's a good player. I don't think he would put them on that level approaching Cleveland. But acquiring a Paul George gets the Celtics closer. But even that, I don't think puts them over the top where I would consider them to be a reasonable threat to dethrone Cleveland to make the NBA Finals representing the East. So Fultz is the beginning of that new core. You got a Brooklyn pick next year. You got a Memphis pick. You can trade guys, trade Isaiah, trade Marcus Smart if you want, trade Jay Crowder, get some more assets. Hang on to Avery Bradley. Very, very underrated player, incredibly good. All-NBA defensive team type player. Build that core 4 or 5 years from now when Cleveland is less than they are now. Make your move. And that starts with Markelle Fultz.
Absolutely. Fully agree. I had a point to make, and I forget it. So we'll move on. It was something about 3. I was going to say something about 3 while you were talking, but I don't remember what it was. So,
all right. Well, let's not get to 3 just yet, because before we get to 3, we got to get to 2. The Los Angeles Lakers. This is the first pick Magic Johnson will be making for them, running the show. So, what does Magic do with 2?
Well, Magic, I think, is going to bring the showtime back to the Lakers. I think Lonzo Ball is the perfect fit ever that the Lakers could pick in this draft. First of all, he's got a good talent. He's a very talented player. I see him like a little bit of Jason Kidd. I know not to the full echelon that Jason Kidd was at, but he can pass like crazy. He has great court vision. He has a high basketball IQ. And when he has an open shot, he can drain it. From all over the court, all 3 levels, and he can knock down his free throws. And I do think he's a good defender too. So Lonzo, definitely a good player, does come with the baggage of his father, but being a SoCal kid himself, growing up in Chino Hills, playing for UCLA, it would just be a perfect fit to go play for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I know there's some other point guards in the draft that that we'll get to start talking about 6 in the top 10 or so. But I think with Lonzo, he's the best fit for the Lakers itself and the best available at the same time. I think also with him coming and being more of a passer than a scorer, you can keep D'Angelo Russell off ball, which is going to be important throughout the next few years. So I'll go definitely with Lonzo Ball. Go ahead.
Look, I think Lonzo's a hell of a player. I have concerns about him. I think the Lakers do too. The Lakers, at least, are going to talk to Steve Alford, the head coach at UCLA, and find out, just how involved LeVar was. And I don't think LeVar is going to end up being something that affects what Magic Johnson does here, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on because I don't think we've ever seen something like this before where an NBA team has actually asked a college coach how involved was this guy's dad, and certainly LeVar is a little on the crazy side. But
it's LA. It's the bright lights of Hollywood.
Hey man, if you can't handle the big lights, I guess you're just not a big baller.
Game over.
My other concern with Lonzo is he's got a broken jumper. And Mike, you say this all the time. When you get to the NBA, that's not a time to learn a jumper. That's a time to become more consistent with your jumper. And we heard this talk about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist when he went number 2 to then the Bobcats. Yeah, there's the Bobcats. Now the Hornets, people said, you know what, his jumper's broken, but give him a couple years, he'll learn, and he'll have a better jumper. And he's gotten a little better, but his jumper is still disgusting, and he does not shoot consistently. He's like a 38% guy from the floor, which is not where you want to be. So certainly I'm concerned about Lonzo there. He profiles to me as a little bit more athletic than Ricky Rubio. He really does. I think he's going to give you 12 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, which is nothing to scoff at. But the guy that I like better here to really accelerate this Laker rebuild and put them in a position where they can actually acquire Paul George as a free agent. Because I know Paul George says he loves LA. He's not going to go there if they're a steaming pile of crap. De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky has been rising up everyone's draft boards. I know the Lakers are enamored with him to the point where I don't think it's a smokescreen because the Celtics aren't taking Lonzo or De'Aaron Fox. So I don't know who exactly they're smokescreening. But apparently it's to the point where they're deciding that De'Aaron Fox is very much in the conversation. He's an athletic freak. He can shoot. He plays defense. He's good in the pick and roll. I think in the backcourt with D'Angelo Russell, that is a scary, scary backcourt with a guy knockdown shooter like D'Angelo, and then De'Aaron can drive all the time. He can knock down his own shots, but imagine him driving, kicking it out to D'Angelo, wide open 3 off a screen, bang. I mean, I think he's the piece that will accelerate this Laker rebuild to the point where if and when they add Paul George in the summer of 2018, they can be a legitimate playoff contender going forward. The Western Conference, I think we'll talk about this in a little bit. We talk about the Celtics, their window is 4 to 5 years from now, and the Cavaliers are less. If I'm in the West, my window to be good is 2 years because I do not think this Warrior run is going to last much longer than that. We could probably talk about that when we get to figuring out free agents and stuff, but hot take, I think the Warriors got this year and next year to continue to run over everyone, and then that's going to be over. I like De'Aaron Fox. It's going to accelerate it. I think he's a better player than Lonzo. He's got a higher ceiling. He's got a lower floor, but I think he's got a higher ceiling, and I think the Lakers are going to take that risk.
Well, moving on to number 3, the Philadelphia 76ers. Josh, what are you thinking in terms of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers?
Well, the Sixers have had a problem in their backcourt since really
ever.
Since they lost
Allen
Iverson, and I guess Michael Carter-Williams for a year kind of relieved that, and then he came back down to earth, or maybe people just realized, hey, this guy's not that good. Lonzo Ball, I had the Lakers passing on him. Combine his court vision with Ben Simmons when Ben Simmons is healthy, 2 guys who could pass the ball all over the place with precision without turning the ball over, 2 athletic freaks. paired them with a team that's post-heavy with Embiid and Saric and Okafor. They have some other guy on the wing. I can't remember his name, but he also drives in a lot. I love the fit there. I know they're looking at Malik Monk here to solve the shooting guard issue, but they also have an issue with the point guard. And I know there are rumors about Kyle Lowry potentially coming home to Philadelphia because he's a Philly kid. He's a South Philly kid, to be specific. I think that's a pipe dream, and I think Lonzo is a guy that you got to grab first. And by the way, really quickly, I read an article about this, and I totally agree. Why isn't free agency before the draft? Because the draft is to fill the holes that you have with young, promising players. So shouldn't free agency – use Kyle Lowry for an example. If free agency is first and the Sixers sign Kyle Lowry to a 5-year, $120 million deal, obviously they're probably not going to go draft Lonzo Ball. So just putting that out there, NBA, Adam Silver, I know you're listening to this, or watching this rather, have free agency before the draft so that way teams can fill holes instead of blindly saying, I don't know what's going to happen.
I fully agree with that statement, 1,000%. I never understood why free agency is before the draft or is after the draft. I think it should be before because I agree. It's filling the holes that your team needs. And
yeah, if you're a team that's going after someone and you miss out on them, then you draft someone. You don't draft them and then be like, well, I drafted a kid, I'm paying him. I'm not going to go after Gordon Hayward or whatever now. Like that's asinine.
Right, exactly. Now, it would make some complications due to the factor of, the college players deciding whether or not they're going to stay in college or not when you do the signing, when you're entering into the draft, but not hiring a free agent, an agent. But that's only been recent, so I'm sure they can change that.
Yeah.
I fully agree that they certainly should put the free agency before the draft. So with the 76ers, I think I've heard a lot of Ben Simmons being moved to the point because of how good he is at moving the ball and distributing the ball. Now, people forget that because of the fact that he missed last year with an injury. But LSU wasn't the greatest shooter in the world. But my goodness, could he have some great court vision, made any pass he wanted to. It was certainly incredible. So I think, with him at the point, and you already have some people, like you said, like Embiid, like Okafor, like Saric down low, you need somebody on the wing that can absolutely knock down shots. And I had a little bit of a tough time deciding between 3 and 4 because I'll finish this one and go right into number 4. Between 3 and 4 as to who I wanted to take there at 3. They're both small forwards, but one has a different skill set than the other. So I'm going to take at number 3, Jason Tatum out of Duke. Certainly an incredible pure shooter talent that he has that will certainly help off the wing for this 76ers team. You saw it during the tournament for Duke. You saw it during the regular season. He could take over games and knock down shots and create his own shot. And he's a good rebounder too, so he can help out in that factor as well. So I certainly think that he can be a help when it comes to that factor. So that moves into my number 4 pick with the Phoenix Suns. This is where I put Josh Jackson out of Kansas. It was either going to be Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson. Jason Tatum had a better shooting, so I think he goes to the 76ers. 76ers don't need just an athletic freak. The Suns do. The Suns need that athletic freak that Josh Jackson is. They already have Bledsoe, Booker, Marquise Chris, and Dragan Bender. Bledsoe and Booker can handle the ball and do whatever they need to. Chris and Bender down low can spread the floor. Then you think about Josh Jackson is just an athletic freak, great off the ball. He's a defensive first guy, great perimeter defender, and he will certainly add to an explosive core and young core that the Phoenix Suns have started to mold together.
Absolutely. Quickly before my pick, because you mentioned LSU, if Fultz goes number 1, this will be the first time ever in the modern draft era that in back-to-back years the number 1 picks team did not make the NCAA tournament, which is interesting.
Now, also
just a nugget to put out there.
Something about Fultz one thing that scares me about Fultz, he couldn't lead that team whatsoever. But he also had a bad team around him. We'll see how it goes, but go ahead.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. The Suns don't need shooting. They have a lot of nice young pieces that when Booker is already miles ahead of where I even ever thought he was going to be. But he's miles ahead of somewhere, and he's an incredibly good young shooter. And he's just going to get better. Chris and Bender developing. They're good shooters. Bledsoe, Brandon Knight, good shooters. Team doesn't need a shooter. Team needs a guy who's going to play defense on the perimeter, can play the three, can sometimes play the four. Just an athletic freak who's not afraid to drive the lane and do the things that don't show up in the box score. That's what Josh Jackson out of Kansas is. It's a match made in heaven. And I know before the lottery, a lot of people in that front office were nervous about where they were going to land, because if they landed behind two teams that both coveted small forwards, they were going to have to trade up to get one of these two guys, either Tatum or Jackson, who they both love. But from what I'm hearing, if they have the pick of the litter, they prefer Josh Jackson, and I think his skill set fits with what they're trying to build there. Home run of a pick in terms of what Earl Watson, the head coach, is trying to do there, and management. So Josh Jackson, easy pick.
All right, so moving on to number 5, the Sacramento Kings. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, look, this is a team that needs help everywhere. Traded away their best player. Honestly, really did not get what I thought they were going to get for him. They really didn't get a whole lot. I mean, they ended up getting what became the 10th pick in this draft, so they have 2 top 10 picks, albeit really in this draft, once you slide past 6 or 7, you fall into that second tier. So it's not as deep of a draft as people like to see. So they have to hit a home run with this pick, so to say. That being said, I mean, any position, they just need to grab a guy. They desperately need a point guard. I got Dennis Smith Jr. going here. He's an athletic guy. There are questions about his jump shot. He's got a high motor. That's one thing about this draft, Mike. You mentioned before we started, a lot of high motor guys. He might be the highest of the motorists. He's insanely fast. Again, questions about the jump shot, but he's not afraid to drive the lane. If Buddy Hield does shoot next year, which I think he will, he's too good to be held down for a second consecutive year. I think that's a nice pairing in the backcourt. Again, the Kings just need talent wherever they can get it. And Dennis Smith, I think, is a nice fit. I honestly don't know what direction they're going in. I really don't. But he's a nice start to something.
And I have a very similar pick. Not the same guy, but a very similar pick. High motor point guard. Not the greatest shooter in the world, but is a fantastic passer and defender. Really started to show up, especially in the tournament. De'Aaron Fox out of Kentucky. I'd say the Kings need a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, a power forward, and a center. So,
well, also don't forget a coach, a general manager, an owner, and a different city that actually cares. But you can't draft those last few things.
And a 6th and 7th man too. But that'll happen later. De'Aaron Fox out of Kentucky, very similar to Dennis Smith Jr. Not the greatest shooter, but he's an incredible passer, and he'll be coming onto this young team who doesn't have any point guards. And then, as you started alluding to, Buddy Hield is not going to have as bad of a year as he did last year when he comes out in his sophomore year. And you think De'Aaron Fox being able to drive the lane is very good. Driving the lane and kicking it out to Buddy Hield. He did it a lot with Malik Monk at Kentucky, but you kick that ball out to Buddy Hield, he knocks down the shot. He'll settle down your half-court offense. He won't make you run and gun the whole game. He will give you some stability on that half-court offense as well. So De'Aaron Fox certainly big at number 5 for me. And at number 6, when you move to the Orlando Magic, I'm going to take De'Aaron Fox's teammate, Malik Monk. They need shooting. The Magic need shooting. Their front court is okay. They already got Aaron Gordon. And Vucevic is another guy that's already there. So you go with a guard, Malik Monk, point guard, shooting guard, whatever you want to call it. Orlando finished 29th. That's second to last in three-point percentage. And they finished 27th in field goals made. So they could certainly desperately use Malik Monk's shot-making ability. He's definitely the most perimeter threat in the game, or in the draft, I should say. And you put him next to a distributor in Alfred Payton. and he'll definitely put down a lot of shots for this Orlando Magic team. And then he can also distribute down low to Aaron Gordon and Vucevic as well.
Yeah, I agree 100% with your analysis in terms of what Orlando needs. My big thing for them is they need some more production in terms of scoring from that front court. Vucevic, he's a 15 and 10 kind of guy. Aaron Gordon, offensively, is kind of nothing. I don't think they really ever thought he was going to be a guy to average more than 10 or 11 points per game, but he's really struggled to even get there consistently. So I have Jason Tatum going here from Duke. You already have him off the board. Knockdown shooter, 6'8". He's got a 7-foot wingspan. He can play small forward. Occasionally can slide to power forward. If you want to mix things up and stretch the court a little bit with a guy like Vucevic who can't really stretch the court. He's not going to play in the backcourt. He's big. Again, he's 6'8", 7-foot wingspan. He's going to help in terms of fixing those dreadful, dreadful shooting percentages. And last time Frank Vogel was given a young small forward with potent outside skills and decent skills driving the lane, it was the development of Paul George from a mid-first round pick into something very, very special. I'm not saying Jason Tatum is going to ever approach that level. However, if anyone's going to help mold him, it's going to be Frank Vogel, George's old coach. And I think they can find a backcourt player in free agency. They're not going to find a guy with the skill set of Jason Tatum who's going to actually sign in Orlando in free agency. So just draft him when he can't say no. I guess he could, but then you trade him and get something back. But I don't think it's going to happen. It hasn't happened in the NBA before. So Tatum. I like that.
It almost might happen with Lonzo Ball if he's not picked by the Lakers, but
maybe. I also heard agents of the top 10 prospects really don't want their guys, including Fultz, do not want their guys to be taken by Boston because they're afraid a kid who's sitting on the bench on a team that, if stays intact, is not going to, they think, find a lot of playing time for that kid. I would tend to disagree. Jaylen Brown has had a larger role as a rookie, especially in the playoffs, but they're afraid that that's going to affect their ability to get endorsements and get a larger contract when the rookie deal is up, all that stuff. I don't think we're going to have to worry about it, but
you know what it is Brad Stevens likes his veterans. He likes his guys he can trust.
Yeah.
And we saw it this year. Jaylen Brown didn't start really getting the rotation until the end of the year. And then he showed why he deserves to be in there, and he led the Celtics in scoring in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, albeit it was an awful game. But I can see that, but I don't think it'll be an issue, especially if you got the talent, he'll play you.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue, especially if trading this pick signals that the Celtics are trying to win now, which I think is stupid.
Right.
Making the pick is signaling that it's not now, it's 4 or 5 years from now, which to me would also signal maybe upping the attempts to trade Isaiah. So then I wouldn't be surprised if Markelle Fultz is a starter day one, because I don't know if Isaiah is going to make it through the offseason in Boston. I think it's in their best interest to trade him. But anyway, let's move to number 7, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tom Thibodeau is running the show there, both as the coach and the director of basketball operations. So he's going to be making this pick. Great young team. I have them in the NBA Finals in 2 years. But, Mike, where are they going at number?
I'm keeping you honest. You said 2018.
Oh, I did?
Year, but
you know what? You know what's going to slow that down is the Zach LaVine injury. He might not come back till middle of the season.
Right.
We'll see
I understand. I'm going to go – it's not exactly as a starter because I don't think this guy can be a starter right away. He's kind of a little bit more of a – needs a little bit more help. He's kind of like a Jaylen Brown type pick right here. Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State. The guy is a defensive freak. He is a shot blocker. He's a defensive freak, and he's only a small forward too. Now the problem is in Minnesota, they have small forwards. They have Andrew Wiggins. They have Shabazz Muhammad. So if you move either Wiggins or Isaac to the 2, as LaVine is still hurt, it'll certainly work out. I'm sure Wiggins wouldn't mind moving to the 2 guard, but Jonathan Isaac is an incredible defensive perimeter player and interior. And he is a consistent inside shot. Not the greatest three-point shooter. Kind of reminds me, I had a name in my head. I completely forgot it now. But Jonathan Isaac is certainly one of those guys that it's just the motor that we've been talking about already, and the defensive talent is obviously there. And I think that is a perfect fit for him, especially if he's going to learn from a young guy like Wiggins himself. That'll be putting you in a good spot. He's 6'10", 210, can play the 3 and the 4. Rashard Lewis is the guy I was trying to think of. He's kind of like a Rashard Lewis who, not the greatest shooter in the world, but he can knock down shots when he wants, and he's a good defender. So that's certainly not right away. He's going to make a huge impact, but down the line, he's absolutely good. Yeah,
I have Jonathan Isaac here too. I mean, look, he's not a great three-point shooter, but he averaged 3 attempts per game last year, shot 36%. I mean, that's not awful. That's a guy who you still have to respect when he is moving outside of the paint. Like you said, 6'10", he's a big kid. He's not even 20 years old yet, shot 60% from the floor last year. He's a defensive, both on the perimeter and down low. He's a defensive nightmare. The guy that I was thinking, I like the Rashard Lewis comparison, a little bit more contemporary. He doesn't play a whole lot, so a lot of people might not know about him, but the stats certainly show. Kyle O'Quinn, he reminds me a lot of Kyle O'Quinn, and I think he's going to fit a similar role. He's going to be a guy who comes off the bench, gets 15 minutes, and in those 15 minutes is going to put up 10 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, and maybe drain a 3, because that's really what Kyle O'Quinn has done the last couple of years. Only relegated to 15 minutes per game, which I don't understand. But let him develop alongside Towns and Wiggins when Levine gets back. If they can find a real point guard, that's why I have him in the finals.
Right.
Very, very soon. I think it's a home run of a pick.
So moving on to number 8, Josh, I'll give you the floor on this number 8. Your New York Knicks, the absolute dumpster fire themselves. Phil Jackson is ruining the Knicks, but what do you got?
Well, hey, did you see what he's done the last 2 days?
No.
Kind of fix it. He met with KP's agent yesterday, who is actually his older brother, and apparently was an asshole to him. So now that's not fixed. And then wait a minute. So there's this one assistant that KP really, really likes. He always works with him. He went to Latvia with him last summer. KP asked if he would be an assistant coach on Latvia's world team this summer because KP's playing for him and he wanted to work with him again. His name is Josh Longstaff. This morning, Phil Jackson fired him.
That's too perfect.
So
he really does not like the Knicks.
So I don't know how much longer KP's gonna be here.
And Melo's already gone. He's already on the leave.
Yeah, Melo's gone. He's probably going to Clippers. We're probably gonna get like JJ Redick and a 2nd-round pick. So good, yay. Yeah, KP's probably gone when his rookie deal is up. If Phil doesn't trade him for like a bucket of balls. And then of course he's gonna give Derrick Rose a max because he's an idiot. I texted you earlier. There's a guy I actually really want here because if the things break the way that I think they're going to break, their only option for a point guard, which they desperately need, is going to be Frank Nintingla, however you say it, from France. And I'm very worried about that. Obviously, Phil has had luck in the past dipping into the international pool. KP, Billy Hernan Gomez as a 2nd-round pick. This guy from France doesn't look to me like – I think he's going to be a decent rotation player. Not a guy I would take at 8. The guy I really want is Lauri Markkanen from Arizona. Could you imagine? He would come off the bench originally, but 3 years from now, Markkanen at power forward, Porzingis at center, both are 7-footers who can shoot and play enough defense to get by. I mean, wow. That's what I want. I don't think that's going to happen. The way that I have my mock draft breaking, Malik Monk is still going to be on the board. If we're running that shape, if we're going to keep running that, which it looks like we're going to, Malik Monk is a guy who is going to have to become a point guard at some point. He's 6'3". He's not tall enough to be a consistent shooting guard in the NBA. He's just not. A lot of scouts think he's going to have to move to point guard, and a lot of scouts think that he has the skill set to fit well as the point guard in the triangle offense. An offense that's not as reliant as your point guard being a playmaker, more of a guy who makes an outlet pass into the post when he comes up the court, and then is able to move around and can knock down anywhere from a 15 to a 24-foot shot off of a pass or maybe off of a dribble. Monk profiles as a guy for me who can do that. If he's still on the board, I think the Knicks would be enamored to take him. Again, I really want Markkanen to experiment with that. I think that has the potential to be something we've never seen before. But if Monk's on the board, I think they will take Monk.
All right, so I'm going to go with that Frank, whatever his last name is.
I think it's Tilakina is the pronunciation.
Yeah, I think that N is silent.
Yeah, Frank Tilakina.
Well, Frank Tilakina, originally out of Belgium, played in France. The reason I'm going to go with him is he kind of fits in this New York Knicks Phil Jackson spectrum. He can run the triangle if he wants. He has a high IQ and a high motor, which will certainly work when it comes to the triangle, running the triangle. He's only 18 years old. He's a good defender, so he can play defense whenever he needs to. Can improve on the outside shot, but that's where that whole 18-year-old comes in. His consistency can improve, but I do certainly think that he will be a good fit when it comes to the Knicks, because he's a good ball handler. And I kind of had him sort of mix and match with my next pick as to both of these guys might fit, but he certainly fits better, especially if it's the triangle itself. So I'm going to go with Frank Tilakina with the New York Knicks at 8. Number 9, the Dallas Mavericks. I have a player you already picked, Dennis Smith Jr., still on my board. I'm going to put him here with the Dallas Mavericks. I think they're okay in the post. The Mavericks are. They already have Dirk, and I'll get to that more as we go on. They already have Dirk. They already have Nerlens Noel, especially if they re-sign him because he's a restricted free agent. You have Nerlens Noel. Imagine the pick-and-roll ability between Nerlens Noel and Dennis Smith Jr. Running the point. That would be huge for this team. He's explosive athletically. He's volume producer. And he's already surrounded by shooters. He doesn't need to do the shooting himself. Already Wes Matthews and people like that. Or not Wes Matthews. He's with the Kings. But he's already surrounded by shooters, so why not just use it? So I think that he would be a good fit there.
Yeah, I have Tilakina going here. They need a point guard down there in Big D. I mean, Yogi Ferrell is not the answer long term. I was really tempted to go with Markkanen here. Who's better to teach a young 7-foot stretch four how to do his job than the greatest 7-foot stretch four in NBA history in Dirk? However,
I had the same mindset.
They need a point guard. They're still convinced they can make one more run. And to their credit, they almost pulled it off this year. They did. I actually saw them live in a game. They lost to the Sixers by 50 points. It was really funny. I only wanted to see Dirk. He only played 12 minutes because they were just getting destroyed. But Tilakina, I have concerns about him. You know, he went off the last couple of games of the FIBA U18 tournament. First couple of games, he looked like trash. He was averaging 5 points, not shooting well. Last couple of games, averaged like 23, was hitting like 60% of his threes. Obviously, that's not sustainable, so he's going to fall somewhere in the middle of looking like trash and looking like Jesus, which every NBA player does.
Kelly Olynyk.
Yes.
Literally looks a little bit like Jesus.
Although hopefully, Tilakina will shave the pubic hair off of his face for draft night. Anyway, I'm concerned about him. He didn't play a whole lot this last year when he played for Strasbourg, which is concerning because a guy who is projected a lottery pick in the NBA cannot crack the starting lineup or get more than 20 minutes per night for Strasbourg. Strasbourg. Who is on Strasbourg? This isn't like Real Madrid, who is one of the better European basketball teams. They have a basketball team too. It's the same company, apparently. Strasbourg. He couldn't break the starting lineup. That is incredibly concerning for me. Dallas needs a point guard. There are scouts who are really high on him, And if he's a guy who could at least, if things break right, help Dallas compete next year. And that's what Cuban's looking to do. He's trying to make one more run with Dirk. He admitted, too, that they were trying to tank when the season ended to get one of these upper echelon point guards. They're going to have to settle for the second tier. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. We'll have to find out.
All right, moving on to number 10, Sacramento Kings, their second pick of the top 10. And I think, would you say, Josh, that your number 10 pick is going to go a lot off of their number 5 pick? Kind of the opposite of what they pick in the number 5 spot, right?
Yeah, I have almost the exact opposite.
All right, go ahead.
This is where I have Lauri Markkanen going. Again, they just need whatever. If Willie Cauley-Stein is the answer down low, they're going to need someone.
Didn't you already take him?
No.
Who'd you put in for the Knicks?
Monk.
Oh.
I said I wanted
Monk.
Okay. They're not going to do that. And this isn't a mock draft of what I want. This is a mock draft of what I think is going to happen. Right. So Markkanen here. If Cauley-Stein is the answer, they need a guy who can stretch the floor next to him. Markkanen, 7-footer, incredibly young, looks polished offensively at the collegiate level. We'll see what he can do. He's going to go into a low expectation environment in Sacramento where they're expecting to be bad. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to get a chance to see what he can do. The head coach there is the guy from Memphis originally, right? Dave Yeager. He's a good developmental guy. I think he's going to be able to help him, and I like the pick and pop opportunities that could develop between Dennis Smith Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. I think that has a potential to be lethal. And I think the Kings, look, it's your second pick in the top 10. You really can't do too wrong here. And I think Markkanen is actually a really good fit for what I assume they're trying to build, which is a competitive basketball team. But they've been proving me wrong for a decade, so who knows?
And, everything you just said, I fully agree with. I also have Lauri Markkanen going here. I had them going De'Aaron Fox with number 5. So, as you said, with Dennis Smith Jr., the pick and pop, same thing with Lauri Markkanen here and De'Aaron Fox. Pick and pop will be lethal. He doesn't really need to worry about defense as much because you have Willie Cauley-Stein behind him, picking up the slack. And he can really shoot it from anywhere in college. We'll see how it translates to the pros. And as you said, the important part is the low market impact that he has right now. Nobody's really going to have any expectations whatsoever. So I fully agree with that. Number 11, the Charlotte Hornets. I have them going big here. They already have Kemba. They already have a good guard system already. Zach Collins will be huge on the boards. Cody Zeller struggles on the boards. Zach Collins out of Gonzaga will be a major player when it comes to helping on the boards. He really showed up at the end of the year this year in college. Cody Zeller, that project is not really working out there, but I think Zach Collins would be a huge body down low, especially if Alec Jefferson is heading out. Zach Collins coming in, filling in that role.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Al Jefferson's been gone.
What did I say?
You said if Al Jefferson's on the way out.
I did not mean Al Jefferson.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's been gone for a year, buddy. He's in Indy.
I don't know who.
Marvin Williams, maybe? But he just got a new contract.
No, Marvin's not in the same position. Marvin Williams is a small forward.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, speaking of small forwards, I have Justin Jackson, the junior from UNC here. I believe the first upperclassman. Yeah, the first upperclassman that we have going. They need some shooting. They lost a lot of shooting between Courtney Lee leaving as a free agent, Marvin Williams regressing. They lost a backup point guard who could shoot. They just need shooting. They also need a guy who can pair well with Nick Batum, who's getting older. Batum, to me, at this point in his career, profiles better in the backcourt with Kemba. He's not as explosive anymore. He can't beat guys at the three. He can't take advantage of size mismatches. Justin Jackson, a guy who shot 37% from three last year while taking 8 threes per game. So he shot a pretty good percentage while shooting high volume to me, that means he's going to translate at the NBA level where he's only taking, 3 or 4 a game. I expect him to convert at even a higher level. I think he's a nice fit there. He's a size mismatch. He's a little bit older, so for a team that's trying to compete and make the playoffs again after missing him this past year, he's going to be more experienced. That means his ceiling's a little lower because he's already 22 and a half, almost 23. However, it's worth it for a team that is trying to get back into contention.
Yeah, and that makes sense because that leads me into my next pick, the Detroit Pistons, number 12. That's why I have Justin Jackson going. A lot of the same reasons that you just had. Going to the Detroit Pistons, they sucked from three-point arc last year. There's no other way to put it. 27th in threes per game in the NBA. Justin Jackson set the UNC record with 105 threes made last year. Now, if Lauri Markkanen fell to this spot at 12, I think they would still take Lauri Markkanen, but I'm assuming he's gone. So Justin Jackson would be a good fit here. They need help on the wings regardless of what happens. And I certainly think that you put in Justin Jackson and his, as you were talking about, his little bit of experience. You put Marcus Morris at the 4. You put Justin Jackson there. He can also play the little bit of the 4. That'll certainly be a big help.
Definitely. The guy that I have here is Zach Collins, the freshman from Gonzaga. He is a center. There is not a lot of help behind Andre Drummond and a guy who is rumored to potentially be on the way out. They're going to have to make a big investment in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope this offseason if they want to keep him. He's a restricted free agent. If they're going to make that financial commitment, I can't see them justifying locking down $20 million over 4 years in guaranteed cap holds on a rookie contract for a high first-round pick. So I have them going back down low. Looking towards the future, they don't have Henry Ellenson. He's in Toronto, never mind. They're going to have to build something down low if they want to acquire more pieces that will help them rebuild what hasn't worked. I think they will move Andre Drummond, get some more draft picks and things like that. So I like Zach Collins as a guy to either be the backup because they don't have anything behind Drummond when he's not on the floor, or take over. Drummond also has problems in his game. You just foul him because he can't shoot free throws, and he doesn't really have a mid-range shot. Collins at least has a 10 to 11 footer that I think he can develop even out to 15. Probably not much further than that, but I like him as a fit for Van Gundy's Detroit team.
What about number 13, Denver Nuggets?
Well, boy, oh boy, are the Nuggets in an enviable position. I mean, they have the whole kit and caboodle. They did it right. They have a lot of young, controllable, talented players. What they have to do now is condense it, make a move, get a big-time star. They apparently made a monster offer for Paul George at the deadline, and the only reason that deal didn't happen was because George wouldn't guarantee he was going to sign an extension, and they said it's not worth it. Let's try again. Maybe we can convince him, or maybe we get like a Butler kind of guy like that. I have them going with Jarrett Allen, the center from Texas. They need some help. They need someone to help when Nurkic is not on the floor. They traded away Jokic. They have Plumlee. However, Plumlee is going to be expensive. He's a free agent. Someone's going to give him $50 million. I don't think it's going to be the Denver Nuggets. So they're going to need someone to take those minutes when Nurkic is not on the floor. Nurkic is also a defensive liability sometimes. I think Jarrett Allen is not a defensive liability. They don't need any more shooting. They have way too much shooting as it is, and they need to condense some of it and make a move for a big-time guy. So they need someone who, for now, plays 20, 25 minutes per game, spells Nurkic, maybe try him at power forward. He's a better defender, and then you can make a move, get that big-time player. And the Denver Nuggets on the rise, really on the rise. And I told you, Warriors, 2 years left. This year and next year, Denver's going to be one of those teams knocking on the door when Golden State falls.
Just want to clear something up. Nuggets are the one with Jokic, not Nurkic. Nurkic is in Toronto.
I thought it was Portland.
Portland, whatever it is. Nurkic is in Portland.
It's confused. So They have Jokic. Jokic is the good one, and Nurkic is the other one.
Yes.
It's confusing. Whatever. Point stand. Just flip the names.
So I was going to go big here, but it looks, for all intents and purposes, because I was going to go big because Danilo Gallinari was probably going to leave. If he did leave, that would be their backup plan. But it looks like he's going to stay. He's going to opt out and re-sign. That's what he wants to do. They also have Billy Hernan-Gomez and Mason Plumlee and Roy Hibbert. They have a lot of movable things down there in that front. So I'm going to go with something you started to mention, a little bit of defense along with some outside shooting. Will Barton is probably on his way out, along maybe Gary Harris too. He might be moved as well. So Terrence Ferguson, he played in Australia. Normally he's an American. Played in Australia last year. He's a kind of a, I don't know if you want to say low risk, high reward, or high risk, high reward, because regardless of what you're going to get a guy who can knock down threes and play defense. He didn't shoot the best field goal percentage, 3-point percentage in Australia, but when you see him at the combine and you see him at his workouts, he's really knocking down these shots. That certainly helped his draft stock a lot. So that's why I have him going here at 13. If he doesn't work out and be a dominant 3-point scorer, he's going to be an Andre Roberson who can shoot and play defense. And so, it works out perfectly for the Nuggets who need more defense. So I think that's only one way they're going to go. Number 14, this is where I have that offensive-minded big going. John Collins, no relation to Zach Collins. John Collins out of Wake Forest. Great player around the rim, quick on his feet, offensively and defensively. And he has a real nice touch as well. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with John Collins out of Wake Forest for number 14, Miami Heat.
Yeah, I like that. I have OJ Anunoby from Indiana. This is a guy, Mike, shot 70% from the floor this year. That's pretty hard to do. Great defensive guy, averaged 6 boards per game. He profiles to me as a guy who's going to be able to score a little bit more from the three, something that Justice Winslow, I don't think, can do. And the Heat somehow made a run to almost relevance this year. I don't think they need help down low. Hassan Whiteside, I think, is fine. I don't think they're in a position where they're actually trying to be too good right now. They're trying to stockpile some more assets. So I think they're okay with Josh McRoberts as the power forward. This will allow them to kind of mix and match Justice Winslow in the backcourt, in the front court, Anunoby in the backcourt, in the front court. I think they're going to move Dragic, so I was tempted, but there's really no more point guards that are first-round worthy here. I like Anunoby. I like the fit. I think he can be the offensive-minded version of what Justice Winslow is, which going forward can be a big asset for them.
So looking at number 15, the Portland Trailblazers, they were a playoff team themselves. What do they need to do? Big, small, what?
I have them going big here. The front court is real bare, and they moved Plumlee, who was their better front court player. Granted, they got a first-round pick out of it when they acquired Nurkic. Nurkic is the one they got?
They got they got Nurkic.
Nurkic. So Nurkic, not nearly as polished as Plumlee was. They missed Plumlee when the season was going on. I have TJ Leaf from UCLA going here. They just need big bodies down low. TJ Leaf is a guy who can stretch the floor a little bit. He's 6'10". At the very worst, he's another big body down low. That's really the one weakness for me on this Portland team. They've got a great head coach in Terry Stotts, who I think is phenomenal. They've got a great backcourt. They have a lot of shooters, Allen Crabbe, Evan Turner, guys like that. They have a lot of money locked into those guys. They just have to keep stockpiling young guys down low to put something down there. So I like TJ Leaf.
So I perfectly agree with you. They need a forward who can score, and that's TJ Leaf. UCLA, you saw him knock down all those shots, stretch 4, capable of playing defense, a little undersized, but I have him there as well. Now, as we get out of the lottery, because that was the last lottery pick, we'll pick it up a little bit. Less explanation and more just moving along. I know viewers might be getting a little bored. Chicago Bulls at number 16. This is a dumpster fire in the situation that they're in. They have Rajon Rondo, who might be on the way out. Jimmy Butler might be on the way out. D. Wade as his option. What are they going to do? Are they going to get a guard in case they leave, or are they going to go big?
I have him going guard just in case. Terrence Ferguson out of Australia. He's not as known, but Denzel Valentine just looked abysmal as their potential shooting guard. They could lose D. Wade. They probably will. This is not a good position. They just got to start building. So I got him going guard.
I also am going guard. Donovan Mitchell, great shooter out of Louisville. He can improve defensively. Athletic freak. He had the fastest three-quarter sprint and the highest standing vertical at the combine. Certainly going to be a big help there. 17 Milwaukee Bucks. You already used them. I'm going to use them here. They're set in the backcourt. They, of course, already have Giannis. I'm going to go with Jared Allen out of Texas. Will bolster that front court. Translates very well into the NBA.
Yeah, I agree. They got to go big. They might lose Greg Monroe this offseason. Is it Greg Monroe?
Yeah,
Greg Monroe. I got Justin Patton, the freshman from Creighton, 7 foot, 230, shots 69% from the field this past season, 6'4", 2 blocks per game, big guy. All they're missing is a big body down low, and this team's going to take off. I think he's a great fit.
Number 18, Indiana Pacers.
Pacers need shooting. I got Donovan Mitchell from Louisville. He took him off the board already. They got to re-sign T. They got to put more shooters around Paul George. Do whatever they can to convince Paul George that they have a chance to win a championship before his contract is up. Mitchell is a knockdown shooter that I think is going to translate well to the NBA.
I'm going with scoring as well, but I'm going to go big scoring this time. Miles Turner is a great defensive player himself as a center. He can guard the rim, but he's not that great of an offensive player. Justin Patton, you just used him out of Creighton. Everything you said, huge wingspan, big body down low, perfect touch for a power forward or a center. That'll be a good fit. And it'll show Paul George that they're not going for his position, but they want to add around him. Unbelievable. Stop making noise. That's what Justin Patton will do. Number 19, the Atlanta Hawks.
I got a guy who, if he didn't get hurt, would be in the top 10. Harry Giles. They need a big guy. Dwight Howard is clearly not what he used to be. They have no one really behind him. Giles, big kid, 6'11", 7'2" wingspan. I think he's going to be a guy who comes off the bench behind Howard, plays great defense. I don't know if he's going to score a whole lot just because I wasn't able to see a lot of him because of the injury. He averaged 4 points and 4 boards per game, but he's a great guy looking towards the future for a Hawks team that's kind of in transition. They have to decide whether or not to bring back Paul Millsap. They have to decide. They already jettisoned Kyle Korver. They have to decide what to do about Thabo Cephalosha. They're in Schroeder if they want to keep him or not. They're in transition. You got to start with the basics, which is a big man down low because Dwight Howard is on the way out.
I have the exact same pick. Harry Giles at Duke. He definitely did better at the end of the year offensively. He showed a good touch around the rim. Me being a resident Duke expert, I can tell you that. A little bit of a reach, of course, with the injury issues that he's had. Came out of high school with an injury, missed a lot of the season with an injury. But potential is absolutely through the roof for him. He was expected to be a top 10 pick had he not been injured. So certainly a good spot for him. Low risk, high reward type guy. And I think he can learn from whatever Dwight Howard has left. So number 20, Portland Trailblazers. We both went with TJ Leaf in the 15 spot with a power forward. What here?
I'm doubling up. You used him already. John Collins, sophomore from Wake Forest, 6'10", 225, put up almost 20 and 10 this past year, shot 63% from the floor. He's a big kid. I think he can step right in and start from day one. And then TJ Leaf can be a guy who can stretch the floor coming off the bench behind him.
So I'm going to go with guard here. This is kind of a confusing spot. I'm going to go with Hamidou Diallo. He technically is out of Kansas, Never played a minute for Kansas in his life. Graduated from high school in 2016. Did not play for a professional basketball team in 2017. So he's a year out of high school. That's all that matters. Taking the Thon Maker route, going straight into the NBA. Thon Maker is going to be good in a few years. But Hamidou Diallo, absolutely incredible athlete. Does be a huge help on the wing. He's a good shooter. 6'5", 195 as a shooting guard. And he can sit behind CJ McCollum and learn. And that'll be a big help. Am I right? CJ McCollum? Damon? Yeah, CJ. Okay. So moving on to 21, Oklahoma City Thunder. Russ needs help, Josh. Russell Westbrook definitely needs help. What's his help going to be?
Well, he needs help in a lot of places, but definitely at the power forward position. They acquired Taj Gibson. They have to decide whether or not they want to re-sign him. I don't know if they're going to. I think some team might come in and be really stupid and give Taj Gibson a 3-year, $33 million contract. And I'd like to think that Sam Presti is not stupid enough to give Taj Gibson that. I have Bam Adebayo from Kentucky going here. They need a power forward. They need a guy who's going to protect the rim. Steven Adams is a pretty good defender. Add to that offensively, he's not going to help Russ as much, but the best offense is a good defense. And Adebayo fills a need, especially if they let Taj Gibson go, which is why they should have free agency before the draft so they would know if he was going to go.
All right, well, you started to mention it. You did say defense into offense, but I'm still going to go with offense. I'm going to go Luke Kennard here. Straight sharpshooter out of Duke. Will knock down any shots in his sight. And you put him on a wing with Russ. Russ loves to drive. He can kick it out to Luke Kennard, and he will knock down the shot wherever he is. He kind of reminds me of J.J. Redick, where straight up anywhere he will try to make a shot. And he really came on at the end of the year.
He was my pick for them up until the trade deadline when they got Dougie McBuckets, and I was like, they kind of filled the need already. I don't know if they're going to double up on a guy who is a knockdown shooter and doesn't do much else.
See, I just don't trust Doug McDermott in any way. I don't know. But regardless, I have Luke Kennard. Number 22, Brooklyn Nets. They're a crap show themselves. This is where I have Bam Adebayo out of Kentucky. Huge motor, young, good defensively alongside Brook Lopez will be a nice spot for him.
Yeah, I have Luke Kennard going here. Brooklyn doesn't have anything. I mean, their floor general can't shoot, Jeremy Lin. Their big guy, Brook Lopez, probably should have traded him already. Probably will trade him this trade deadline. They had Indiana offered them their first-round pick for Brook Lopez this past year, and they didn't take it. I don't know why. They just need someone who can shoot, and Luke Kennard can shoot.
All right, number 23, Toronto Raptors. Kyle Lowry was injured, didn't help in the playoffs. What are they going to do now?
I am going big. We'll talk about this a little bit, I'm sure, when we do some of our free agents, but I don't think they're going to be keeping one Mr. Serge Ibaka. They have Henry Ellenson, who has a chance in a couple of years to be a good stretch 4. So what they need now is a stretch 5. How about Isaiah Hartenstein, an international player from Germany? He's 19 years old, Mike, 7 feet tall, 225, over in Germany. Didn't play all that much on a very good Zalgiris international team. However, knocked down, 43% of his threes, shot 55% from the floor. He profiles as a poor man's Kristaps Porzingis. Him and Ellenson, that's that stretch front court that I really want to see one day. And I don't think they're going to keep Ibaka. So they just need a big body down there.
All right, I'm going to go with Ike Enigbagu. I can never really say his name. But he'll be a big help as a center and a rim protector at UCLA. He only made about 3-4 shots a game at UCLA, but he's competent in pick and roll coverage, and his defensive potential is completely there. Especially if they do pick up Serge Ibaka's contract, he'll be big off the bench for them. So I certainly think that'll be a big help. 24, Utah Jazz. They have to decide what they're going to do with Gordon Hayward. after that, this is why, of course, free agency should be before the draft. Where do you think they're going to go?
Well, spoiler alert, Gordon Hayward is going nowhere. He will stay. I got him going Ivan Rabb from Cal. They need a power forward. Derek Favors gets hurt a lot. One of the things that kind of crippled them down the stretch was they didn't have Favors a whole lot. And then in the playoffs, when they did have Favors, when Rudy Gobert was hurt, they didn't really have anyone else that they could throw out there as well. I was tempted to go a shooter here because there's a chance that they're going to lose Joe Ingles this offseason or Gordon Hayward. I don't think they're going to lose Hayward. It depends on how much Ingles costs at the end of the day, but they need another big guy to come in when one of these two guys is either hurt or to give him a spell on the bench. Bring in Ivan Rabb. If you can bring back the band, boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. A 51-team win team is just going to get better. With a great head coach, too. I'm a big Quinn Snyder fan.
I am as well. I think whether or not you do, if you do or you don't, you go with the shooter because I think Ingles is gone. I think Tyler Leonard out of Syracuse is an absolute knockdown shooter himself. Averaged in as well as shooting, he also averaged 8.6 rebounds a game. Fits well in place. He can play the 2 if Gordon Hayward stays, and if he goes, he can play the 3. So good spot for him. Number 25, Orlando Magic.
I have them doubling up on some front court help. I have Semi Ojeleye from SMU going here. He's 6'7", so he's a little bit smaller than normal. However, 19 points per game, shot 52% from the field, 42% from down low, a block per game. Overall, just a nice all-around player for an Orlando team that just needs to find a way to get more production from a front court that has kind of let them down. They're paying a lot of money to Bismack Biyombo, and he's not doing anything. So as far as I'm concerned, he might as well not exist. It's Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, who is kind of a net zero because he doesn't give you anything offensively. So just keep adding there. I was tempted to go shooter here, but there wasn't a shooter here that I liked enough to put over a jelly. I
never know.
Oh, I don't know. OJ. Just call him OJ. There we go.
All right, OJ. I'm going to go here. You just used him. Ivan Rabb out of Cal. One thing I like about him is he's a pure athlete. He's a quick slasher. And Aaron Gordon is that himself. He's an athlete. He's a slasher. And he can definitely learn behind him and do what he does off the bench. And we'll see how that goes really for him. But I think that'll be a good pick. And he just come off the bench and be a good role player. So number 26, Portland Trail Blazers. This is their third pick of the draft. If they don't trade it, which I assume they will, draft and stash. This is where I have Isaiah Hartenstein going. You already mentioned everything about him. He can shoot. He's big size, defensive speed, can buy him time. So I'm going to go with Isaiah here. Kind of a draft and stash him. He can play D-League if he wants.
Yeah, I doubled up on power forward, so I'm going to go with a back row player. Sindarius Thornwell from South Carolina put on a show in the tournament. And, we've seen guys who have had similar regular seasons to Thornwell who have just caught fire and led their teams to places they had no business going in the tournament, who are well received by scouts, and some are, top 10 picks. Steph Curry was one of those players, albeit had a little bit better of a regular season. Thornwell is a guy I think is going to sneak into the first round, and I think he helps in terms of depth in the backcourt for that team. He's also a guy who can play small forward. He's a nice mix and match guy with the Allen Crabs and the Evan Turners of the world. He's also a lot cheaper, so they could move away from Evan Turner if they want, because $70 million is a lot of money for Evan Turner.
Number 27, Brooklyn Nets. They just won at 22. What are you going to do about 27?
I have Caleb Swanigan from Purdue going here. I'm really surprised there's not as much hype around him as there should be. I understand he's a little undersized at 6'9.5", but last time I checked, the last underestimated Big Ten power forward who was 6'9.5" and went in the second round was Draymond Green. And I'm not going to bet against the Big Ten again because I think it's one of the better conferences in basketball. It might be top two behind the ACC. I love Caleb Swanigan. I love the swagger he brings. He's a scorer, averaged 13 rebounds per game, 9 points per game. He's a guy who could step into a couple threes. He'll hit 2 threes per game, average 4.5 assists per game. He's got great vision down low, all-around complete player. He's really being undervalued because he's undersized, and the same thing happened to Draymond Green. And I've seen Caleb Swanigan just destroy my hopes and dreams too many times to not take him seriously. For a Brooklyn team that just needs players, you got your knockdown shooter in Kennard for me earlier. Go get your guy to play down low for now alongside Brook Lopez and Caleb Swanigan, and eventually that's his front court. Just let him go. He's an animal, even at 6'8.5", 6'9.5".
So I already went with Bam Adebayo there, 22. So I'm gonna go guard in every reason that you said for Sedarius Thornwell, in what he showed, especially during the tournament. I'm going to put him there at 27. Low risk. They need anything they can get, anything that walks, really, for the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going to go Sedarius Thornwell as well out of South Carolina. Number 28, the LA Lakers. We both had them going guard, I believe. Their number 2 pick. So we're all the way down at 28. What do you think now?
You're just trying to hit a home run here. I have Hamidou Diallo, freak athletically, good shooter, 6'5", so he's a bigger guard. You know, you're not going to ask a whole lot of him. He's going to be in that second unit with – we both have him taking a point guard, who I assume will start. He's going to be in that second unit with Jordan Clarkson. He's going to be a nice complement to Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson is more of a drive first, pass out kind of guy. Diallo can just kind of camp on the perimeter and knock down shots. He can drive when he wants. Again, athletic freak. Second first-round pick in the back of the first round. You're just trying to hit a home run here. And wow, we haven't seen Diallo play at any level in a year. It could be a home run of a pick. If it's not, it's the 28th pick in the first round of the NBA draft. You're not going to lose any sleep over it if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm going with Jonathan Motley out of Baylor. Huge on the boards.
Ooh, I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
Certainly can do well, especially behind Julius Randle. Be a lot of help down low for the Lakers. San Antonio Spurs, 29.
I got Tyler Lydon, a 6'10" small forward who can shoot from the outside. That's all you need. He can play power forward. Pau Gasol is getting up there in age. LaMarcus Aldridge. They might look to move on from him if they're serious about clearing max cap space this offseason to go after one of CP3 or Kyle Lowry, who, spoiler alert, they're going to get one of them. If they're serious about that, they're going to have to move Aldridge, and I think they're okay with doing that. I love Lyon. I think Pop's going to find fun ways to use him. Again, a 6'10" small forward who can stretch the floor. That is pretty fun.
So I am going to go with a guard here, a point guard. Frank Jackson out of Duke. Decided late that he was going to commit into signing an agent for the draft. But with all the questions that the Spurs might have with Manu or Tony Parker, Frank Jackson is certainly a player that can come in, play some minutes off the bench. He can distribute and score as much as he needs to. And I certainly think he could fit in there. Manu is old. Tony Parker's injury prone now. So we'll see what happens there. Number 30 pick of the draft, Utah Jazz.
I have Devin Robinson from Florida going here. Great defensive-minded small forward. Averaged 11 points per game in 26 minutes. Shot 52% from the floor. He's not a bad three-point shooter. Knocked down about 40% of them. The big thing with him that's going to make him appealing is his defense. He's a contingency plan in case Gordon Hayward bolts. He's a contingency plan in case they lose Joe Ingles. I think overall he's a nice fit. Again, the last pick of the first round. If this guy doesn't pan out, that's what's supposed to happen. If he pans out, great. And for a playoff team that I think can win 55, 56 games next year, he's the 12th man anyway, unless he shows you something in training camp and early in the season. So it really doesn't matter.
So I'm going to go. I already used a small forward. Now I want to go with a big guy, probably coming off the bench, Jordan Bell out of Oregon.
Okay.
Him along with Jonathan Motley as two of the later picks. Jordan Bell, we talk about a lot of these guys with high motors. This guy certainly has one. He had a great combine as well, and he played a good tournament with Oregon. So certainly think he would be a good pick for that NBA draft. The number 30 pick, the Utah Jazz, Jordan Bell.
All right. Well, that's the entire first round. We're going to make a Google Doc with our picks. We'll come up with terms for a bet, and whoever gets the most first-round picks right wins. We're going to do a separate podcast, videocast, I guess, as we get closer to free agency. We hear some more storylines. We'll, give some predictions for the big-name free agents, who's going to change addresses, who's not going to go anywhere. But for now, that is our NBA mock draft, third year in a row this year. We'll have some stakes on it. We'll let you guys know what those stakes are when we do our off-season preview, and then we'll come back at some point, whether it's this summer or whether it's in September back at WMUA, and let you guys know who won the bet and what the terms were. So, Mike, hope you had a good one. Hope you had fun. Best of luck to you. And I think that's about going to wrap it up.
Cool. Good work.
All right. Have a good one, and we are done.